Welcome to day 5 of the mindful experiment. Today I have a treat for you. I have a story for you, a Zen story. Now, Zen stories, like fables and fairy tales, are meant to teach something, maybe inspire, but definitely to reflect, to ponder. And that is your work for today. After I tell you the story, let it sink in, and then ask yourself a few questions. How does it relate to mindfulness for you? And what did it bring up for you? What's the lesson in it for you? There's no right or wrong, just what it brings up for you. Sit back and enjoy. Once upon a time, there was a hard-working farmer. He always did the work in front of him. He tended to his fields, he provided for his family, and he took great care of his horse. Well, one day as the farmer was doing the work in front of him, plowing and tending to his fields, his horse ran off and did not come back. All the townspeople came over and said, "Your horse ran off. How horrible, how horrible, how horrible that must be for you." And the farmer, undisturbed, continued to plow and work his fields. And he said, "Maybe it's horrible, maybe it's not." And he continued to do the work in front of him. Well, wouldn't you know it? The next day, not only did that farmer's horse come back, but he brought 2 additional horses with him. Oh my goodness, the prosperity. 3 horses. The farmer took care of those 3 horses. He took care of his family. He took care of his fields. And of course, all the townspeople came over and said, how wonderful, how wonderful. You're a rich man. You have 3 horses. How wonderful." And the farmer, do you know what he said? "Maybe it's wonderful. Maybe it's not." And he continued to do the work that was in front of him. Well, the next day, the farmer's son decided to tame one of those 2 wild horses. And the farmer's son got on the horse's back, the newly acquired horse, and started to ride him. But that horse, he was a wild horse, and he bucked the farmer's son right off. And the farmer's son, he broke his leg and was bedridden. Well, after the farmer tended to his son, he went back and he took care of his fields. He plowed them, he worked them. And all the townspeople came over and they said, "How awful, how awful that your son broke his leg. How awful." And the farmer said, "He's okay. Maybe it's awful. Maybe it's not." And the farmer continued to do the work that was in front of him. He tended to his fields. Well, then, wouldn't you know it, the next day, the army came into town. They were recruiting all the young, eligible men to leave home and to go off and fight. Do you think they took the farmer's son? No, they didn't, because he was bedridden with a broken leg. They didn't want him. And after the farmer learned of this, he went back and he tended to his farm. He worked, he plowed, he did what was in front of him. And all the townspeople came over. And what do you think they said? "They didn't take your son. How wonderful, how wonderful." And you know what that farmer said? You've got it. He said, "Maybe it's wonderful and maybe it's not." And he went on to tend to the work in front of him. As such was the way of the hardworking, mindful farmer. The end. So that's the Zen tale of the farmer. Maybe it's wonderful, maybe it's not. Maybe it's awful, maybe it's not. Ponder that, reflect upon it, and what does it bring up for you? What lesson does it personally teach you? Your work for today is to write a little reflection in the comment section below. What did this story, this Zen story, bring up for you? Great job. I'll see you in day 6.